Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time, we're getting into some pretty serious strategy, I'd say, with
Huh.
Robert Greene's The 33 Strategies of War. So strap in.
Absolutely.
We're not doing self-help today.
Yeah.
This is about going for the jugular.
It's about winning.
And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people hear the 33 Strategies of War and they think, well, I'm not fighting a war.
No.
I'm not on a battlefield. But that's part of Greene's point, right?
Exactly. It's taking that concept of war and applying it
Yeah.
to every area of life, really.
Yeah.
So think of it as any area where there is competition.
So this is a playbook inspired by, you've got military masterminds like Napoleon, Sun Tzu, you've got Machiavelli, but he's also pulling from pop culture.
He pulls from
from
all over.
Yeah.
Literature. Tons of different sources.
What is the thread that connects all this? What's the commonality?
I think the commonality is these patterns of strategy and power dynamics keep repeating themselves throughout history. And it's essentially saying these apply no matter what your field is.
All right, well, let's jump into strategy 1 here.
Let's do it.
And right off the bat, declare war on your enemies. Now, I think some people are already like, oh, enemies, that's a strong word.
It is. But I think in Greene's mind, what he means by that is you need to know what you're up against.
Okay.
You have to clearly identify your obstacles.
Yeah.
And he says that could be external rivals, of course.
Right.
But it also could be these internal enemies.
Okay.
Like procrastination or a toxic work environment, self-doubt.
Oh, so this is more about acknowledging the things that are holding you back.
Acknowledge the things that are holding you back.
Yeah.
Even if it's yourself.
But how do you actually apply that? Like, I'm not
it's not
talking around declaring war.
No, it's not about going up to your boss and saying, hey, I declare war on you.
Yeah. You're probably
going to get fired. But think of it more as a shift in mindset.
Okay.
Once you identify those enemies, you can start to understand their strengths and weaknesses.
Oh.
And then you can start to formulate a plan.
So it's about being strategic in how you approach these things, even the small.
Yes, everything.
Okay, so can you give us an example of like someone who actually declared war and how that played out for them?
Well, so a good historical example would be Otto von Bismarck.
Okay.
He was the architect of a unified Germany.
Yeah.
And he was just a master
at
manipulating his rivals, provoking them into conflicts. But he did it in a way
so he turned it around
that served his purposes.
Almost into an opportunity.
He was able to exploit their weaknesses
interesting.
to his advantage.
Okay, so that makes me think about like those office dynamics we were talking about. Like how can somebody use this declare war mindset without, getting fired?
Right. It's not about literal aggression. It's about strategic positioning.
Okay.
So let's say you're in a cutthroat work environment.
Yeah.
You need to understand this strategy is encouraging you to understand the power dynamics at play.
Right.
Identify those potential rivals and then use that knowledge to navigate the situation effectively.
Okay, so it's like a game of chess.
It is a game of chess. Every move is calculated.
Yeah. Well, speaking of chess, let's move on to strategy 2. Do not fight the last war. What does it even mean, outside of a literal battlefield?
Yeah, outside of a literal battlefield, you're talking about clinging to outdated strategies.
Okay.
Even if they worked in the past.
Yeah.
They might not work now. The world changes, circumstances change.
Right.
You need to adapt to stay ahead.
This reminds me of what got you here won't get you there.
Exactly.
Yeah, but can you give us a real-world example of somebody who failed to adapt and what happened?
Yeah. So I think Napoleon Bonaparte is a classic case of this. He was, a brilliant
He was ahead of his time.
Military strategist. He revolutionized warfare.
Right.
But he was so reliant on those past victories that he was blinded to these new tactics.
Wow. So even somebody who was once at the forefront.
He became so set in his ways,
Yeah.
And ultimately that led to his downfall.
Yeah, it's almost like he got stuck in a rut.
He did.
So even the most successful people can fall prey to this.
Absolutely. And it just shows that continuous learning and adaptation is crucial no matter how successful you are.
Okay, this is a wake-up call. Okay, let's move on to strategy 3. Amidst the turmoil, observe. This sounds like something out of like a martial arts movie almost.
It does.
What is the wisdom in this one?
So this strategy is about staying calm and observant, during times of chaos.
Okay.
This allows for clear assessment of the situation.
Instead of just reacting.
Before you react. So everyone else is panicking.
Yeah.
You become the eye of the storm.
Okay, but this is way easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely.
Like our natural instinct is to...
Just to freak out, yeah.
Freak out when things go wrong. How can somebody, train themselves to be more...
Yeah. It takes practice.
Yeah.
But I think it's about consciously shifting your focus from that emotional chaos to objective observation. So you almost take a mental step back and analyze the situation before you dive in.
So you're processing
the process
instead of reacting. Do you have an example?
I do. I think a good historical example of this would be George Washington during the American Revolution.
Okay.
He knew that sometimes strategic retreat was the best move.
Okay.
It allowed him to regroup,
Yeah.
to exploit those opportunities that his enemies missed in the heat of the moment.
Interesting. So even amidst what looks like a setback,
yeah, exactly,
there's a potential for...
There's always opportunity.
Okay.
And his calm observation during chaos was key to his success.
So we got to be perceptive enough to see those.
To see it, yeah.
Right.
It's about recognizing that chaos often presents those hidden opportunities.
Okay.
And it's in those moments of turmoil that your ability to observe and analyze can give you a significant advantage.
Okay. Okay, welcome back to our strategic deep dive.
Yeah.
We're breaking down Robert Greene's The 33 Strategies of War and figuring out how to apply these really powerful tactics to our everyday lives.
Right.
Last time we talked about declaring war on your enemies, adapting your strategies, and observing amidst the chaos.
That's right.
Pretty intense stuff, but really insightful.
Yeah, for sure.
So what does Greene have in store for us today?
Well, so today let's dive into strategy 4. Avoid the one big battle. And the strategy is all about avoiding the temptation to go all in on that one big showdown.
That sounds kind of counterintuitive. Are we trying to, win this metaphorical war?
It might seem that way, but focusing all your energy on that one grand showdown, it can actually be quite risky because it makes you predictable and vulnerable. Greene's argument here is that a series of smaller victories can be far more effective.
So instead of going for the knockout punch, you're sort of wearing them down over time.
You're playing the long game. You're strategically chipping away at their defenses.
Okay.
And then ultimately that's how you achieve a more decisive and lasting victory.
This is making me think about those big life-altering decisions we sometimes face. Do you have an example of how this played out in history?
I do. I think the Roman general Quintus Fabius Maximus is a perfect example of this.
Okay.
He used this strategy against Hannibal during the Second Punic War.
Wait, wasn't Hannibal the one who marched elephants over the Alps?
The one only.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Hannibal was a brilliant military leader. And he inflicted, some serious damage on the Romans.
Right.
But Fabius realized that going head-to-head with Hannibal's forces, that would be a disaster.
Okay.
So he adopted a different approach.
Okay.
Instead of engaging in these large-scale battles, he focused on smaller skirmishes.
Okay.
Harassing Hannibal's supply lines.
Oh.
And exploiting any weaknesses he could find.
He turned it into a war of attrition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was unpopular at first, because people wanted decisive action.
Right.
But it proved to be the winning strategy.
Interesting.
He prevented Hannibal from achieving a knockout blow.
Okay.
And ultimately forced him to retreat.
Wow. So this is showing that patience and that willingness to adapt can actually lead to victory, even when you're facing a seemingly insurmountable opponent.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most effective path to success is not a straight line. It's a series of strategic maneuvers. Okay, what's the next strategy Greene throws our way?
Strategy 5. Make use of the serpent's jaw. And this one's a bit more aggressive.
Serpent's jaw already sounds kind of dangerous.
It does. What does it entail?
It's essentially about turning your opponent's strengths against them.
Ooh, okay.
Greene argues that every strength has a corresponding weakness.
Okay.
A flip side.
Right.
And your goal is to identify that weakness
and
find ways to exploit it.
So you're using your enemy's power against them, Almost like a judo move.
Exactly. Like a judo move. You're using their momentum to throw them off balance.
Okay.
Now, this doesn't mean being underhanded or malicious.
Right.
It's about understanding the dynamics of power and leverage.
This sounds like it could be particularly useful in negotiation.
Oh, absolutely.
Where understanding the other person's strengths and weaknesses
for sure
can give you an edge. Do you have a historical example that really brings this serpent's jaw to life? I do. So the story of Hernan Cortez and his conquest of the Aztec Empire is a fascinating example of this. So, Cortez was vastly outnumbered by the Aztecs, yet he managed to conquer an empire.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Right. So how did he do it?
Yeah.
By using their strengths against them. So the Aztecs, they had this complex system of tribute and alliances. Which was a source of their power, right?
Right.
But it was also a potential weakness.
Oh.
Cortez was a shrewd observer.
Yeah.
And he recognized the resentment that many of the Aztecs' subject peoples felt towards their rulers.
So he saw an opportunity to exploit those existing tensions.
Precisely. He formed alliances with these disgruntled groups, effectively turning the Aztecs' own allies against them.
Oh, wow.
He used their strength, their vast network, to his advantage.
Wow. That is, talk about a strategic.
It is brilliant. And it just makes you realize that power isn't always about brute force.
Right.
It's about understanding those nuances of influence and leverage.
It's like psychological.
It is.
Chess, almost.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next?
All right, so strategy 6, concentrate your forces. And this one's all about focus and efficiency.
That sounds pretty straightforward. It's about prioritizing your efforts.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. You can't win a war by fighting on too many fronts.
Right.
You need to identify those key targets and then direct all your efforts towards achieving them.
This makes me think about, like, how scattered our attention can be these days.
Absolutely.
We're
bombarded with distractions.
It's easy to lose sight of what we're, actually aiming for.
Absolutely.
How can we apply this, like, concentrate your forces principle to, like,
Yeah, it's about being intentional with your time and your energy. Instead of trying to do everything at once, identify the most important tasks and then focus relentlessly.
So working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
But do you have a historical example of somebody who, like, really embodied this?
Genghis Khan.
Oh, okay.
And his Mongol army. They were known for their incredible discipline and focus. They didn't waste time and resources on, like, pointless skirmishes. Instead, they concentrated their forces on key strategic objectives, which allowed them to conquer vast territories and build one of the largest empires in history.
Wow. So that's a real testament to the power of focus, you know, and it's a reminder that spreading yourself too thin can actually be detrimental.
Yes.
You got to identify your key priorities and then go all in on achieving them.
Yes, absolutely.
So in a way, concentrate your forces is about saying no to distractions.
It is.
And really, like, committing to your goals. All right, welcome back to our final round of our deep dive into Robert Greene's The 33 Strategies of War. This book is really challenging me to, like, rethink how I approach pretty much everything.
I think that's the point. Greene really wants you to see the world through that strategic lens. And we've uncovered some powerful tactics so far. From using patience to your advantage to turning an opponent's strength into their downfall.
Right.
And we've got a few more weapons to add to your arsenal here.
Okay, I'm all ears. What does Greene have for us in this final round?
All right, so let's start with strategy 7. Transform your war into a crusade.
Okay. Crusade sounds intense. We're not talking about actual, like, religious wars.
No, not literally, of course. What Greene means is that to achieve truly remarkable things, you need more than just a logical plan. You need that driving force, a belief, something that makes your efforts feel meaningful and inspiring.
So it's like tapping into a sense of purpose, something bigger than yourself.
Yes.
I can see how that would be especially important when you're leading a team.
Oh, absolutely.
Or trying to, like, inspire other people.
Yeah, if you think about the most influential leaders throughout history, they weren't just fighting for power or personal gain.
Right.
They were leading movements fueled by this powerful sense of purpose.
Right.
And their crusades, they inspired millions.
Yeah.
And they changed the course of history.
This makes me think of people like Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes.
Or Nelson Mandela.
Absolutely.
They weren't just fighting for like political change. They were fighting for like justice and equality.
Yeah, their passion and commitment was contagious.
Right.
And that's the power of this strategy.
Yeah.
When you have that strong sense of purpose, it fuels your motivation.
Yeah.
And it makes you more resilient in the face of challenges.
So it's like having that internal compass that's guiding your actions.
Guiding you, yeah.
And keeping you inspired.
Yeah, and keeps you going even when things get tough.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this applies to really any area of life, whether you're, building a business, writing a book, or even, just trying to improve your fitness.
It all applies.
Having that sense of purpose can really make the difference.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what's the next strategy Green throws our way?
Okay, strategy 8. Choose the more difficult path.
Wait, shouldn't we be trying to make things easier?
Right.
Not harder?
Counterintuitive, I know. But Green makes this compelling argument that the path of least resistance rarely leads to true greatness.
Okay.
It's often by choosing that more challenging path,
right,
the one that requires more effort and discipline,
that
you actually discover your true potential.
So it's about embracing challenges as opportunities for growth.
Yes.
I'm starting to think Green's like secretly a stoic philosopher.
There's definitely some parallels there.
But think about it this way. When you lift weights, you're intentionally putting stress on your muscles to make them stronger, right?
Right.
And the same principle applies to personal growth.
Oh, okay.
It's by pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zones that we actually build that resilience.
Okay.
Develop new skills.
Yeah.
And ultimately become more capable.
This is a good reminder that growth isn't always comfortable.
No, it's not.
It often requires us to face our fears and push through self-doubt. But the rewards can be pretty significant.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When you overcome a challenge, you not only achieve that specific goal, but you build confidence.
Right.
And that sense of accomplishment that propels you forward.
Yeah.
You prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you thought possible.
This is definitely a strategy I need to work on. I tend to shy away from challenges and opt for the easier route. Okay, let's see what the final strategy.
Okay. Strategy 9. Exploit the weaknesses of your opponent.
Oh, okay.
Now, before you get alarmed, remember we're talking about metaphorical warfare here.
Right, not actual hand-to-hand combat.
No.
But I have to admit, this one does sound a bit ruthless.
It does. But it's about being strategic.
Okay.
Not cruel. Green's point is that in any kind of conflict or competition, identifying and exploiting your opponent's weaknesses can be the key to victory.
Okay.
Now, this doesn't necessarily mean taking advantage of someone in a malicious way.
Okay.
It can also just be about recognizing areas where you have a competitive advantage and using that to your benefit.
So being observant.
Yes.
Understanding the dynamics. At play.
Yes.
And then using that knowledge strategically.
Exactly.
That's like finding the Achilles heel.
Yes.
But not necessarily to harm them, but to...
Not to harm them, but
to gain
an advantage.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're in a negotiation and you know the other person is under time pressure, you can use that. Yeah, to push for a resolution that's favorable to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not about being like manipulative, but about being like smart and resourceful.
Yes. Yes, being smart, being resourceful.
Oh, wow. This has been an incredible journey.
It has.
Through the mind of Robert Greene.
It has.
We've learned about the importance of purpose, the value of challenges, and the strategic power of recognizing weaknesses.
Yes.
But before we wrap up, what is like your biggest takeaway?
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is that reminder that life is inherently strategic.
Okay.
Every interaction, every decision...
It's a move.
...is a move in the game of life.
Yeah.
And by adopting that strategic mindset, by becoming more aware of those dynamics at play and the tools that are available to us,
we can navigate this game more effectively and achieve greater success.
So it's not about being like manipulative or cutthroat.
Yeah.
It's about being like thoughtful.
It's about being thoughtful.
So intentional anyway.
And prepared.
And prepared. Exactly.
Well, listeners, that concludes our deep dive into The 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene.
Yeah.
We've really only just scratched the surface of this incredibly rich and thought-provoking book.
Yeah, there's so much more to unpack.
But hopefully we've given you a taste of the strategic mindset.
We have.
And some tactical tools.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we can apply
to your own lives.
Whatever battles you may be facing.
Yeah, remember.
Remember, the battlefield is
everywhere.
Everywhere, and the war for success
is ongoing.
Yeah. But with the right strategies and a bit of cunning.
Yeah, and some cunning.
You can emerge victorious.
Until next time, stay strategic.
Stay strategic.